Welcome to the first lesson for IGCSE Economics, Paper 1, Chapter 1, Resources. First of all, we start with the two definitions of a resource, which is anything used to produce goods or services people want or need. Scarcity, which is the basic economic problem, is a shortage of resources in relation to the quantity of human wants. Now, it's the basic economic problem. We've got infinite wants, however, we've got limited resources. This means that demand is greater than supply. Resources in some countries are scarcer than others, meaning that they don't have them. However, resources in some countries do exist, but they don't have the financial resources to exploit them, meaning that they don't have the money to be able to buy the adequate machinery to be able to get access to these resources. For example, like mines, gold, things like that. The four factors of production: land, labor, capital, enterprise. A nice mnemonic for this is sell. So do with that as you will. Next we've got wants versus needs. This is kind of common sense. But if you do need a definition, here it is. Needs, basic things needed for survival. Wants, things or desires that go beyond basic survival. Next we've got resource allocation. Resource allocation is sharing out resources so that everybody can get what they want. Now, if resources are not allocated equally, we have issues such as homelessness. Okay, there's three questions that determine resource allocation: what to produce, how to produce, for who to produce, which is the distribution. How to produce is basically you organizing, the entrepreneur organizing the four factors of production in different ways to basically determine what's the most efficient process for that to happen. Next, this is a very important definition: SOS, extremely SOS. Opportunity cost, which is the value or benefit of the next best alternative foregone or sacrificed when made a decision. You can basically make up your own definition along these lines. Don't sit and write some complete different nonsense. But like with definitions, you can use your own interpretation. You don't have to sit and learn off by heart. Anyway, let's continue. Next, we've got the production possibility frontiers, PPFs. Okay, basically, what these show, it's a bit easier to understand what they show if you understand what it actually is. These graphs basically show the production of two goods, usually consumer goods and capital goods. Okay, consumer goods are goods that we consumers use every day. For example, like toilet paper, food, I don't know. Capital goods are basically resources used to make the consumer goods. For example, like tractors or something for farms to be able to get rid of, I don't even know what they do, but whatever. Anyway, basically these two goods, they are shown graphically on a graph that basically highlight what a country can produce, like the different combinations of the two goods that can be produced if all the resources are used efficiently. This is basically a graph that shows efficiency. It shows the maximum amount of each good that can be produced given the available resources. For example, if I only want to produce consumer goods, let's say, we're here. So the maximum amount of goods that we can produce, let's say, is like 15. Whatever. Let's see, you know what I mean. Hopefully. Anyway, next we've got basically the points. You need to know that if it's inside the graph, like point C, not all resources are being used. So it's underutilized. So it means that you do have spare capacity. This is important for a chapter later on. If it's on the line, anywhere on the line, then it means that all your resources are being used. Efficiently or not, all your resources are being used. And the only way to produce more is to be able to get more resources or basically grow, which is what we'll see like later on. Next, point D, which is outside the graph, is impossible to achieve, mainly because you don't have enough resources to be able to be producing at that level. Okay. Obviously, shifts from one point to another. It can go from B to C, B to A to B, B to C, B to A. The only important thing to know here is obviously when there's a change, you obviously sacrifice something to gain something else. It's literally the definition of opportunity cost, but it's just another way to say it, a trade-off. For example, if I go from B to A, I'm producing more consumer goods, but I'm sacrificing the capital goods that I could have produced, if that makes sense. Next, we've got the shift of the actual PPF graph. Okay, to begin, let's see the factors that cause growth. Okay, growth is basically when the PPF graph moves towards the right. Okay, it grows. I don't know how else to explain it. It grows. Now there's different reasons for this. There's 4 different reasons. It's new technology. New technology increases efficiency. When efficiency increases, so does productivity. More output, more profit. It's, yeah. Tier, which is going to be us during the economics exam. Shedding tears. Hopefully not with this lesson. Increased efficiency. Obviously, increased efficiency is literally like what I said before. Better production, better output, more output. Next, we've got education and training. Education and training is important if a firm is more labor intensive, meaning that it depends more on workers rather than technology.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad! You keep digging!
If they're educated and qualified, then it means that they can produce more units of output in less time, so their productivity increases. When productivity increases, output increases, so profit increases as well. And obviously finding new resources, buying new resources, obviously grows the PPF. And for those of you who clearly, maybe hopefully not, did not realize already, I've got it here. And it's color coded. You're welcome.
Clap if you care. All right, let's move on.
Anyway, next we've got the factors that cause it to shrink. Okay, now this is basically losing resources. Like, you can think of it like that. Things, how do you lose resources or waste resources? Let's say, obviously, wars, natural disasters, they come and they literally destroy all your resources. Resource depletion, and obviously if you lose skilled workers. For example, if workers are not being paid enough in a country, they're going to go to a different country where they'll be probably get paid more and have a better quality of life. And yeah, that's pretty much chapter 1.
Jumping like